Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tulsa Center for Spiritual Living. I'd like to welcome those of you who may be watching this online or watching it later on YouTube to know that you can find information about our center at our website, www.tulsacsl.org, for great information. And I'd like to welcome those of you here in Tulsa, where we celebrate life and the teachings of the science of mind every Saturday at 5 p.m. And everyone is indeed welcome here. So welcome all. This evening, we're continuing the Centers for Spiritual Living theme called Everyday Wonder. As we move into our 11th months in this theme, the concept is home. And the talk for today is called There's No Place Like Home. Click your ruby red slippers a couple of times, or flip-flops or bare feet or whatever it is. But the question I have is, what do you have in common with Harry Potter, Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz, Gautama Buddha, and even Jesus? Yes, you and the rest of humanity are playing out the hero's journey with starts and ends, always, always, always with a place called home. Ernest Holmes said, "Wake up," in a deeper New England voice. Wake up. Your word is all powerful. Your consciousness is one of omnipotence. Your thought is infinite. Your destiny is eternal, and your home is the everlasting heaven within. He also said in The Science of Mind, realize the truth. I am living in a perfect universe. It always was perfect and always will be perfect. There never was a mistake made. There are no mistakes being made and never have. I live in the great and eternal universe of perfection, from cause to effect, from beginning to end. He says, the world's all right, and I know it. So we think for a moment about the hero's journey, which is an exploration of our foundational roots in our home, our influences, our security, our protection, our lessons learned as we're in our formative state, either as a child or an adult child. It can be any phase in life. Moving on out into the world where we gather our tribe, where we get our resources, where we make our mistakes, where we pick ourselves up, we learn our lessons, and then bring them back home to whatever that home is as a transformed person. When I think where Ernest Holmes would come on this teaching of the hero's journey is that it all begins with our absolute belief and acceptance that we are one with spirit, that we are lacking nothing at our deepest core, that we have all that we need as we allow it to flow through our consciousness. And without that, without those foundational beliefs, it can make the hero's journey a lot more messy. And not that messy is bad, but it gives us the courage to found our feet on the ground, to take that deep breath in and to take that step forward, to move into a new experience of life out of the confines of what was before into the what is forming into the world through us. It allows us to take those risks and move into a new exploration of life. So the idea of home is primal among the collective archetypes. Across ages and cultures, it can be said that home is where the heart is. Metaphorically, home is a place that is holy, W-H-O-L-L-Y or H-O-L-Y, known and familiar. That heart-filled place is where we feel safe and fully free to be our unvarnished selves, knowing we belong and that there's always unconditional love and acceptance. It's also the place where the human journey begins and ends. This month, we're moving through that starting point, the destination, the spiritual journey. We'll discuss home in its idealized version, as we experience the great monomyth of the hero's journey. We'll continue discussions about the ideal home and the paradox of safety, right? How having a sense of rootedness, belonging, and boundaries can also empower us to fly, to fully move out and to be ourselves. Now, I'd like to share a story. It's a Hasidic story called Only a Visitor. Once some tourists from the United States were visiting Poland. They had heard about the famous Polish rabbi Hafez Haim and managed to receive an invitation to visit him in his home. When the tourists arrived, they were surprised to see the rabbi's home was only one simple room filled with books. His only furniture was a table and a bench. "Rabbi, where is your furniture?" they asked. He looked at them and replied, "Where is yours?" "But we are only visitors here," answered the tourists. "So am I," said the rabbi. "So am I." Imagine, right? You, me, we're all only visitors here on earth. And how does that affect our perspective as we move through our life's journey? Reminding ourselves that we are only visitors here can help put things into perspective, right? Indeed, our life is larger than our circumstances and our furniture and the things that we carry around. That perspective can open us up to moving into a new and greater reality. Ernest Holmes again said, "The Spirit of God is an undivided and indivisible wholeness." Right? That is that place that I am one with the allness of creation. It fills all time with its presence and all space with the activity of thought. Nothing can be nearer to you than that which is the very essence of your being. Your outward search culminates in the greatest of all possible discoveries, finding God at the center of your own being. Life flows up from within you. That knowing, right, that nothing is nearer to us than that which is that essence of our being, that knowing that we're one, lets us move forward with the confidence, knowing that God's spirit, love, oneness, big sweetie, whatever we want to call it, is right there at our center. So that hero's journey then represents the outward search to find the truth. The recognition of God's presence within is the realization that unconditional love and wholeness and oneness is our spiritual home, and we have access to it anywhere, anytime, wherever we go. This is where we begin that journey and can move into experience the new. There are a couple thoughts that I'll share today about this journey. The first one to examine is, what is myth? Myth. People unmistakably think of myth as something commonly believed but untrue, like a story. But for Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell, myths represent our collective human psyche, illuminating universal principles and truths that apply to the entirety, in some way or form, to the human family. The stories of Dorothy, Alice in Wonderland, and Mulan are reflections of this great monomyth, as much as the stories of Jesus, Buddha, and Moses. All refer to this archetype described by Joseph Campbell in the book, The Hero of a Thousand Faces. The hero's journey represents the process of psychological and spiritual transformation from innocent child to mature, self-actualized adults, like all of us. We're still working on it. Gail's laughing there. Everyone has the potential and capacity to be the hero of their journey of life. Some embark on the journey with intention, and others by accident, when we get booted out of the nest. According to Campbell, a hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than themselves. The journey entails a challenging evolutionary process that serves to shape, strengthen, and prepare the individual for their work. So this is all a myth It's an archetype that we all experience in some form in our life. And the hero's journey, as I've already said, begins and ends at home. The home of the child as the hero is a place of shelter and safety, often, and also represents repression, right? There's a limitation of our home. The metaphoric walls that protect the child also keep the hero in the making in a sheltered state, right? Underneath the port, underneath the steps of Harry Potter. Eventually, the desire to break free from customs, rules, and limiting beliefs prompts the child to set out into explore the unknown, where there is learning and growth. Dorothy left Kansas. Siddhartha gave up the kingdom. Harry Potter left his home to go off to wizard school. This reminds me of the process of raising my children. And like we did this fall, dropping off my daughter at the University of Arkansas as a freshman. Kim and I had done all that we could in the only way we knew how to support them in their growth and development to get them ready. Our job was not, so I learned over time, to protect them at all costs, to keep them from experiencing pain or sadness or loss, so that when they move out to begin this journey, that they already have within them a safety net of knowing that they can break and they can repair. They can be sad and they can be happy again. They can be nervous and scared and find faith and power in all that they do. And author Glennon Doyle said, "We're just trying to raise human beings, right?" And the definition of a human being is someone who just shows up and screws up and apologizes and starts over again. So in order to do that, we have to show them, meaning our children, all of ourselves. We have to allow ourselves to make mistakes in front of them and be what we would call imperfect in front of them, and sometimes even lose our temper and show up and apologize and try again and relentlessly forgive ourselves, because that's the only graceful way to be human. I remember when I first had kids, I thought, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to make sure you have the perfect life. And in so many ways we did that. But I learned as they got older that it was important to not have them see me as this perfect person who never screws up, to know that we all make mistakes. We all have the power to support each other, and we all can move forward. It was and was not always easy, but it's my deep hope that letting them safely explore the crunchy side of life while they're in our home lets them be prepared to experience that out in the world. And these are the steps that happen in that spiritual journey, right? That hero's journey. Eventually, departure comes. We leave our home. We begin to get to initiate ourselves, right? We leave our ordinary world and set out on our call to adventure, our challenge, or our quest. Now, there's sometimes a reluctance to answer the call, which can often be overcome with the support of a mentor. In all the hero's journey stories, mentors appear, right? The Scarecrow, right? The Tin Man, the Lion, all of the teachers that Harry Potter had, and his gang of cohorts. Now, in pushing our children out of the nest, it was the application process for college. It was the packing up and the dropping off. It was the tearful hugs and goodbyes and the moments of homesickness and worry, and letting them experience it as they did, knowing that we were there to witness this, to support it in whatever way we could, but also to trust that they've got this. During that initiation phase, the child develops strength and character through trials and tribulations. And with the help of those allies, including us, they move forward through that final showdown where they slay their inner dragon and they're gifted with the insights that transform them into the hero, which then allows them to come home. And we'll explore that some more this month. On the return home, the person who comes home is not the same person who left. They have new insights and wisdom and a band of people to support them. They have an understanding that transform them from innocent to mature and self-actualization. This greater cause could be humanity, nature, and life. And they come to their full maturity by rising above him or herself to move into that sense of the higher self. At the end of The Wizard of Oz, Glinda tells Dorothy what? She always had the power to return home. She didn't need the wizard, who turns out was a fraud. She always had the power within her to return home, which brings us back to the beginning. I am one with the allness of spirit. The indwelling presence is always with me, and it moves through me to the degree that I allow it to flow through me. Like Dorothy, we have to leave our safe surroundings sometimes to find and become what we're going to be. The journey reminds us that home, the place where we are known, loved, wholly whole and free, may be the best place to be. We already have everything we need to get there. So consider for a moment your life in the context of the hero's journey. In what phase do you see yourself? And age is irrelevant here. There are lots of hero's journeys in our lives. Are you still in the safety zone, afraid to venture out while feeling the push or pull to do more? I'm thinking of entrepreneurs here, right? People with ideas who are spreading their wings and moving into new expressions. Are you experiencing trials or tribulations and the fiery flames of initiation? Perhaps you've been intentional about your spiritual journey and feel confident that you've already slain your dragon. But are you living your transcendent purpose? How are you showing up as an ally or mentor right now for others who are on their journey? As each of us explores this inquiry, think about the next steps and what might help and guide you to the next level of your growth and evolution. I'm going to close with another quote from Ernest Holmes before we move into discussion here. And I think it's really interesting because sometimes the things that prevent us from taking that move is fear, like leaving up a sense of safety and security. But Ernest Holmes said, there is no security unless we have a deep and abiding faith in life, a faith which permits life to flow through us, but only at the level of our understanding and acceptance. The security I'm talking about, he says, is the kind that not only warms the heart and makes glad the mind, but also feeds the soul. We belong to God. That there is that within us that will last forever. There is no other security except that we are one. So now let's pray for just a moment. Divine Spirit, infinite wisdom of all life, I know it is the center and circumference of my being. I can see it in the miraculous journeys and experience, not only in the stories and movies that we read, but also in our own life experience. I can see the energy of the one in the miraculous movement of our lives. And I know that I am one with all of the oneness, love, power, beauty, and intelligence of that creative force that I call spirit. And so I speak this word of truth from that place of connection to the divine love. I know that as we move into life experience, as we wake up in the morning, stretch and put our feet on the ground, that we are moving into that hero's journey on a daily basis. I know too that we have the ability to speak what's on our mind, knowing that those ideas from consciousness flowing through us are to be heard in the world. So I pray knowing that we find a receptive space for our thoughts and creativity and wisdom of all forms to move into that way. I pray too in this moment for all of those who've experienced the loss through the tornadoes that ripped through Oklahoma and Texas. I can hear it right now, the helpers running to them to support them in the rebuilding, in the comforting of the heart, and knowing that this is that expression of the hero's journey with God as us, moving in to be the cohorts and collaborators and supporters to move into a place of healing. And so it is that I give thanks for this knowingness. I give thanks for knowing that Spirit is right here with us now and always, and that is indeed the only security that lets us take the leap of faith. And for that, I am grateful. And so this word, this prayer is complete, rested gently into the law of life, into the creative medium of Spirit that knows, that responds to our word always. And if you'd like to join me in affirming this prayer, together we claim, and so it is.